There's a 10-year anniversary event coming up for Metal Gear Rising, and do you know what that means? This is the most realistic chance we've had at a new Metal Gear game in years. While it is quite common for the Metal Gear rumor mill to get moving every couple months, this time just feels different. About a month ago, Quentin Flynn, the English voice actor of Raiden, tweeted out, and I quote, "Stay tuned for things to be announced in the coming weeks. Winky face." And yes, he actually did put the winky face. And with this, as always, came a bunch of hype and recycled news articles, but it eventually went quiet. That is until Platinum Games posted a tweet at the end of January, stating that there will be a 10-year anniversary event for Metal Gear Rising on February 21st. For those that don't know, Platinum Games was the developer Kojima and friends handed off Metal Gear Rising to while it was still on life support. Platinum had much more experience with this genre than Kojima's team, and were thankfully able to save the game. So, hopefully you understand now why this is big news. This isn't just Konami being Konami. They aren't coming out with a new pachinko machine. I mean, I hope. The only thing we have to go off of for this event is a chibi drawing of Raiden, as well as a 10-year anniversary art piece. Now, let's think logically for a second here. Do either of those things really warrant an event that's announced almost a month prior? No, it just doesn't really make sense. Now, I'll be the first to admit I don't know a whole lot when it comes to Platinum Games, but from what I do know is that they tend to deliver on things like this, and don't drop the ball constantly like Konami has since Kojima's unfortunate departure. There has to be a reason for this event to even exist. The Metal Gear franchise has been in the morgue since Metal Gear Survive came out back in 2018, and I'm sure Platinum knows how much MGS fans tend to take things out of context when it comes to a potential new game or remake. I think things actually are different this time. They know what they're doing. Some of you may not recall, but back when Metal Gear Rising was still in development hell, it was set between the events of Metal Gear Solid 2, Sons of Liberty, and Metal Gear Solid 4, Guns of the Patriots. When it was passed off to Platinum Games though, the story was shifted around, and it ended up taking place after Metal Gear Solid 4, the last canonical game in the series. This was likely done to give the studio more creative freedom when it comes to storytelling, and probably made it a bit easier to please Kojima. In Kojima's eyes, the story was basically over at this point, at least for the modern day titles. The Metal Gear lore is very detailed, so Platinum probably would have felt like they were walking on eggshells if they had such immense restraints on how they were able to tell the story of Rising. It was a risk, but it definitely paid off in the end. Fast forward to today, and Metal Gear Rising has exploded when it comes to memes, making the game even more popular than it was before. Even players who aren't fans of the series have ended up loving Rising. It's a very special game, and I don't think Platinum would play with the expectations of all their fans, new and old. So what do I think is going to happen on the 21st? Well, I think we're getting a sequel. The fact that Metal Gear Rising is set after the events of all the mainline titles is something that shouldn't be glossed over. Getting a Rising sequel is infinitely more likely than getting a new mainline title. Rising is almost completely separate, and hardly even mentions the previous games or characters. It's a clean slate. Konami wouldn't even have to put in the work. Even though Metal Gear Survive was pretty awful, for the most part the game was pretty disconnected from the other titles. It had just barely enough connection to the series to bear the Metal Gear title, and it still somehow ended up on store shelves. Metal Gear Rising, on the other hand, had a far better narrative, and the gameplay was also very well received, unlike Survive. If Konami has any plans to continue the Metal Gear series, in my opinion, it'll be games like Rising, not a remake, and definitely not something like Metal Gear Solid 6. Rising is already adored by fans, and it's sold well for Platinum Games, so they would surely be down to take on another Metal Gear title. Platinum has been on a roll recently, and I don't think there's a better time than now to announce something new for Metal Gear Rising. If it's not a sequel announcement, then I think it will almost certainly be a Metal Gear Rising remastered announcement, likely to help fund the development of Metal Gear Rising 2. It's been stuck on older consoles for so long that if a remaster were to come out, a completely new generation of gamers would be able to get the chance to play Rising for the first time. A remaster alone would be enough to reinforce the fandom for the series, giving new players the chance to experience the power of Armstrong's nanomachines.
Nanomachines, son!
To be honest, I could talk about this for an hour, but I think you guys get my point by now. But yeah, that's all for now. Are you guys hyped for the Metal Gear Rising event? Do you think we'll get a sequel announcement? Be sure to let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions. As always, thank you guys for watching. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe and maybe share my channel with a friend. I'd really appreciate it. I hope you guys have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you guys soon. Peace.